So when we're desensitizing, we really need to watch the horse's body language and make sure that we retreat before the horse reacts and wants to move its feet away. Ideally, you would retreat with the object when the horse is standing still, when they're tolerating it. And gradually we can get the horse to accept more and more. So when you're doing any kind of desensitizing, you really need to pay attention to the horse's body language, and you need to make sure that you don't approach too much too quickly so the horse feels like it needs to leave. If your horse is feeling like it needs to leave, then you've already gone over that flight-fight threshold, and you need to reassess your training plan. So I can use the targeting with different novel objects, and if we've taught the horse to target, then they're going to be more curious about something new. I want to start far enough away that the horse is not wanting to run away from it. So with your horse, that might be 20 meters away. I want to start far enough away that the horse is curious but not scared and running away. So I have done a little bit of targeting with this horse before. This is Angel, so I'm fairly confident that I can start at this distance, but I'll just check in with her body language. And I'm just going to make the object as least threatening as possible. So I might just hold it up and then give her the cue to touch. So see how this goes. Touch. So she took a step towards it. I'm going to click just for her having that curiosity and approaching the object. And then I also took the object away. Touch. So at this point she doesn't have to touch the object yet. I just shape the behaviour, just see if she can move towards it. Touch. So this time it was spinning a bit. If I add any kind of new element, I want to make sure that I start further away again, and so she's not reacting here, and here she's curiously going towards it, so I'll click and take it away. So the targeting doesn't begin with the touching, it begins with any kind of movement towards the object. She's smiling. So if she's smiling and offering another behaviour that she's been reinforced for, that tells me she's probably not looking scared. You can see her body language is quite relaxed. So maybe I can give her the cue. Touch. Good girl. And I always take that object away again. Now you might need to do, 500 repetitions of just approaching, from 20 meters away and then approaching like a tiny bit and then click and retreat and give your horse a treat. So with gradual increments you can get, the horse will get closer and closer and get more curious. And then also you can approach closer to the horse with the object. It's really important to take it away after the click to reduce that pressure by just taking the object away again. Good girl, Angel. Touch. So I'm not saying touch every single time because the actual object is becoming the cue to target it. And touch. Initially I used that cue to ask her to move towards it, and now that she's getting more confident I could just maybe move it around a little bit more. If your horse loses interest in the targeting, then you've probably jumped ahead too quickly. Some horses you need to, break things down into 1 millimeter increments, and then other horses you can progress quite quickly with the shaping. Come on. So with the targeting there, I was using approach and retreat. So I would approach into the horse's awareness and then click when the horse showed interest and moved towards the object, and then I would also retreat with the object after the click. So that's one form of counter conditioning. I can also use approach conditioning, where I move the object away from the horse, and that's a really powerful way of building the horse's confidence with something new. Touch. So I can also use the clicker training to teach the horse to accept me touching them with the object, and I can just gradually reduce that flight-fight threshold. Always start far enough away that they're not reacting, and then if I'm going to approach with something, it's a good idea just make it as small as possible and approach towards the shoulder. And you want to click and back off before the horse reacts. So don't wait till they're, got their head in there and their eyes popping out and they're, wanting to move their feet. So you want to retreat and say, hey, you stood still, good. I'm going to back off. Good horse. And then with repetition, we can gradually get closer. And you could do the same idea with clippers or an umbrella or a tarp or a raincoat or a rug or anything that your horse is worried about. So we're not picking up feet, but that's a good offer. Standing still and I'll click. When I do initially touch the horse, I'll touch them on the shoulder. That way if they need to move, they're just going to go in a circle around me. They're not going to run backwards. And hopefully I've done enough repetitions that she's not feeling like she needs to run back anyway. She's actually thinking this a little bit like the bow thing that we're just starting to learn. So I'll just carry on a little more. So you don't want to do targeting initially with anything that's going to be painful, or you don't want to do desensitizing with anything that's going to be painful. Eventually you can use it for things like injections and stuff like that, but so again, the secret is to watch the horse's body language and stay below that flight-fight threshold. It should look like your horse has seen one of these things before. If you do it properly, it shouldn't look like the horse is really terrified and wanting to move away, and then by the end they're good. You should just do it so incrementally and so gradually that the horse doesn't need to react and move away. Always wait for the horse to have its head away from you when you feed them. And good girl. Now you need to do enough repetitions at each stage that the horse is totally comfortable, and then you can just gradually increase the horse's tolerance. You do need to be careful about when anything crosses over the horse's back, so that they've got that blind spot there. So if anything suddenly appears in that opposite eye there, they might suddenly see it with their, so she would see it with her left eye, and then they might jump towards you. So you want to make sure you've done plenty of desensitizing on the other side before you would put anything over their back. When you start on the other side, I would start with just approach, click for standing still, and then retreat, and just gradually reducing that distance so that eventually I can touch her with it. And this is how it should look. They shouldn't look like they're scared. They should just stay well below that fear threshold so that they're just relaxed and thinking, hey, this twirly thing is good. So I'm using the approach and retreat. Retreat before the horse reacts. Retreat while they're coping with it, while they're saying, yeah, all right, this is all right. Something different. And using the counter conditioning. Counter conditioning is when we pair the monsters with the lolly shop. So the horse thinks, hey, this thing's really good. And it does take a lot of repetitions because we're building neural pathways. There you see her head came up. Tells me, all right, I don't want to progress too much past there. Let's do a few more repetitions there. So the other thing that horses will worry about is things around their head. So I've had her targeting the object, but I could also, good girl, start to just teach her to hold still while I approach her. You know, maybe you're trying to sponge the horse, sponge the horse's face. You're smiling at the thing is very cute. We'll just start with touching it. We don't have the smile totally on stimulus control yet. That's sort of something new that she's learning. So I just ignore the smile and just click the targeting. So again, I want to try to retreat. If she looks like she's going to move her head, because my hand is up, it's a bit like a smile cue. So I could even just wait till she drops her head down and then click and retreat. And so this way, you know, if you were holding a sponge or something, you know, you'd teach your horse to now, if you're going to throw your leg over the horse, you want to make sure that they're really desensitized to having a lot of different things over their back. If they can't accept, you know, that you might put something over their back, something different, then you certainly can't expect them to stand and be relaxed when you swing your leg over there.